Welcome to an unboxing with Ritty. So we'll go through a few things. We'll look at what's outside the box, what features it has. We'll then open the box, view its contents, go through what each component has, for example the Xbox's outputs and inputs, go through and compare it to the old Xbox, because obviously this is the S, and then go through the setup. So let's begin. So obviously this is the outside, this is the front. Very neatly showing what you should expect inside. You've then got this side of the box showing obviously the price from where we bought it, the controller, and some small details about it, and then obviously a couple of snapshots from different games available for the console. So if we look at this side of the box, you can see it's going through some of the features. Now this particular one is a 500GB, it's capable of 4K streaming, it also does Xbox 360 games, which is using the backwards compatible feature, but that's selective and they're slowly adding more and more games to that. And as we're going to touch on later when we open the box, it comes with the Xbox One S, a high-speed HDMI cable, and it does support 4K with this cable. That's something to note. Your cable may not be fast enough to support 4K, and especially if you're going to be doing 3D videos or 3D gaming, if there's any compatible. It is a lot of data to be streaming through one cable. It comes with the wireless controller, which compared to the old version supports the 3.5mm jack, and obviously wireless network capable, because that's what all consoles have these days. So I could do this a little bit better, but I'm using the website as a background, so I may as well just quickly look at the main page and go through some more features. So when we get to it, you can see the connect button, the controller connect button has moved, and so has the USB. The drive is in the same spot, and the eject button is no longer touch, nor is the power button. They're both physical buttons now, but we'll go and have a look at that in a sec. But you'll notice that there's this little section here, which is the infrared blaster. Used to be part of the Kinect, but now it's part of the console. As we've already mentioned, does 4K, which supports the Blu-rays, gaming, etc., and does do upscaling. It supports high dynamic range, especially with the newer TVs, they do support this, which means you can get even clearer video and better defined colour. They're saying it's 40% smaller compared to the previous console, and depending on the model you buy, you can get a 2TB. Now keep in mind, with all the Xbox Ones, you can plug in an external hard drive and store games and videos, etc. on there, but just note you will have to format it first or you'll lose everything on that drive. A couple of different angles, we'll go through some of those angles ourselves. That is another thing to note, is compared to the Xbox One S has an internal power supply, so you don't have to have a big power brick sitting there next to it. Well, not necessarily next to it, but on the floor somewhere. That's all gone. It's just a cable straight in the back. So, as you can read there yourself, obviously this is from the day of recording, which is from the 1st of June 2017. This may change. Also, some of these features may change, as a lot of them are software driven. Also, if you do have Netflix and pay for the most, again, depends on your TV, whether it's 4K compatible. You can do Netflix with 4K on the Xbox One S. As I've already mentioned, the IR Blaster is now built in. So that means that you can get the Xbox One S to turn your TV and sound system, and also another, they're like talking satellite TV or other sort of box like that, like your Foxtel or similar, turn them on and off with your console, as well as controlling the volume of your sound system. So this device is really intended to be your central one device, which it can be. The controller, a little bit of differences, and I'll show you the old controller compared to the new. There's small little differences. The textured grip, for example, improved wireless range. I got a little asterisk, so really just expect the same thing, maybe a little bit further in some situations. And the impulse triggers, I'm pretty certain that's been a thing since ever the Xbox One came out. They're the current bundles. There are some more, and the one that I had purchased came with Forza Horizon 3, and also a 3-month subscription to Stan. So it's again just going on about the 4K, backwards compatible. That's select titles. You've got again, it's just going to repeat and repeat, which I'm going to try not to do anymore. The Xbox One S. Apparently I clicked on something. Okay, so let's get this box back up here and cut her open. So you've just got 2 little tabs here. You're then greeted with a getting started card, which gives you the basic instructions. Plug in your cables, which essentially in this case is if you're doing wired internet, otherwise it's just straight up wireless. Connection to an alternative device because it does have HDMI input, power, and the HDMI to the TV. The green cables indicated here are the ones it comes with. You've then got the controller, put in your AA batteries, turn it on, and turn on the console. Now, something I will mention is, it comes with AA batteries, your Duracell copper tops. You can buy the charge and play kit, which I have for my Xbox One. The exact same for the Xbox One S. It's a rechargeable lithium battery with the USB charging cable, which has a little indicating light to tell you whether it's charged or not. Now, it should come paired in the box. And especially if you do use the micro USB cable, it'll pair it. So especially if you take it to a friend's, you take that cable with you, saves you having to press any buttons. And it's plugging a cable versus pressing buttons, same deal. So the connect button next to the infrared blaster, and the connect button on the back of the controller, which will then connect the two together. And it's then congratulations, you've done the getting started. They've got their Twitter and stuff on there, which they do actually do support through. And I do apologise for the sound of the fish tank in the back. I had intended to turn it off. Yeah, things happen. So in the side there, you've got this little box, which has got a little opening flap for cable. That's your power cable. Just a standard, obviously I'm in Australia, just your standard 2-pin. I'll get a different angle in a second once we've got everything out. You've then got the controller and HDMI cable. So it's not a branded HDMI cable, it doesn't say Microsoft or Xbox or anything on there, but it does have HDMI high speed on there. And with setting this up at a friend's place, it does definitely support 4K out of the box. He had some existing cables and they may have had lines and flickering and jittering. Put this cable in, worked perfectly. Unfortunately, it's not the longest cable in the world. Rough guesstimation, I think it's about a 2 meter. In his case, he needed a 3 meter. And then we've got the controller, which has got a little bit of tape holding it together. And also inside there is your batteries. This one you do have to open up. That's just standard copper tops as mentioned before. So here's the actual controller. So in a moment, once we've unboxed everything, we'll go through this in a little bit more detail. And we've got this little pull tab here, which pulls out this piece of cardboard, and all it holds is a code for 14 days Xbox Live. That's all it has in that. Then you have the console itself. So it's all neatly folded with a little bit of tape. It's got that on each end. Trying to do it so you can see, but it's just a piece of tape. So, and final bit of tape on the back here, which that completely unwraps to give you the Xbox One S. This is all you get in the box, except for the cardboard and little leaflets. So first of all, let's look at the actual console itself. So I'll set this controller at the back, and I'll bring this further forward. So if I lift that up, as you can see, you've got the infrared blaster, the controller connect button, the Xbox button, the CD eject button, and finally the USB on the side here. Now if I zoom in a little bit, so you can see that they've moved to a physical button, as well as having fingerprint smudging and the physical button for the eject there as well. The rest is pretty much as it was before, except they've now moved the USB here instead of being on the side. Looking at the top, you can see you've got your mesh there and your matte finish there. So they've entirely removed all the gloss finish that was on the previous model. This side is pretty much clear. Same with this side. Underneath you can see they've got little bit of tidbits. They've got logo, and they've got some writing. Now if I zoom in on this, it's got the model, but it's also got hello from Seattle. And finally for the back. So you've got on the back here the power connector, which as mentioned has changed. You've got the HDMI cable out to the TV, the HDMI connection for inputs. So I've got on my current a Chromecast. You can put your computer, your MacBook, your Mac Mini, whatever you've got, or your actual satellite TV or other HDMI device. You've then got two USB 3 connections on the back there, an infrared out connection, which is just your standard infrared blaster connection. Now obviously you've got the blaster on the front, but for some devices that are hidden away in a cupboard or behind something else, you can use those infrared blasters to connect and blast out directly in front of the device itself. You've got your SPDIF, also known as an optic out or optic audio out, and you've got your network connection and your little lock there, like on your laptops and everything. So that's the console. Now for a closer look at the controller. So you can see here that you've got a sort of smoother, softer, sort of silicone rubber feeling there. You've still got the grip on the thumbsticks there, and you've got the flush Xbox button, with the rest pretty much being the same as the previous controller. Underneath is a textured plastic, and you've got the battery compartment, which just slides open. So it's got your standard battery AA battery connectors, but also it takes, with those special pins there, the lithium rechargeable batteries from the Play and Charge kits. You've got standard micro USB connector there, and your controller connect, as well as your standard buttons and your triggers. So if you're not sure what it meant before when it was talking about something special with these triggers, not only are they actual triggers that especially for racing games, it's proper, that's a little bit more, and that's all the way, so you can actually have proper control, but also it is has little vibration in them, so you can get some feedback. So if, again, going to use the racing example, if you're braking and your wheels lock up, it'll vibrate that, and if you're accelerating and you're losing a bit of traction, it'll vibrate this one, and obviously in combination you might have both vibrating to give you feedback. Finally, on the bottom here, you've got the standard connector which it's had for the keyboard and the headphone connector on the previous Xbox One, but they've also added a 3.5mm stereo connection there, which you can use with your headphones or with the proper Xbox One S headphones. Something else I'll mention is they've moved the voice controls to be able to be used from this headphone jack, which previously used to only be through the Kinect itself. You can now use it through the headset. And there are microphones out there which are designed to be omnidirectional that you can plug into here and have the controller on and use their voice controls as well. I don't need to go through any of the other cables or the batteries there because it's a cable and batteries. So just to quickly compare the controllers, just to note this is a third-party silicone grip which I had on this controller. Now you'll notice some differences straight away with these two. You notice that they've had the gloss finish just like they had on the actual console itself, which you'll see in a second, which they've now removed and just gone with the sort of smooth and mildly sort of grippy sort of feel. And this didn't have that at all. That just feels that little bit softer on the newer controller. And on the back it continued this smooth plastic, whereas again, as mentioned, this has got a little bit more grip to it. The buttons on the front, you notice these ones are a little bit more protruded than this one here. And the rest is pretty much the same on the front there. On the back, you'll find that they should be the same, although the shape's a little bit different. On the back, they are the same, but you'll notice that there is the difference here as well, that there is no headphone jack connector here. It only used the proprietary connection for headphones and keyboards. So that's the Xbox One original controller. This is now the Xbox One S controller with stereo headphones. Now the actual console itself, the Xbox One versus the Xbox One S, my Xbox One is currently on displaying the website in the background. So I'm not going to go unplugging that to bring it over. So I'm going to move my setup over so I can quickly give you a very brief and dusty view of my 2.5-year-old Xbox One. Okay, so as you can see on this one, they've got piano finish, or the glossy finish here, with the touch buttons for both the eject and the power. The USB is on the side, as mentioned before, and then you've got the smooth gloss finish on the top, which again attracts the dust, tracks fingerprints, and you can see they've changed from the lines to the grid. That's really the only difference I need to show you. Other than on the back, there is also the proprietary Kinect connection, which I'll show you a picture of now. If you need to continue using a Kinect, or you buy a Kinect, you will have to buy an adapter which goes from the USB 3 to the Kinect proprietary, as well as the Kinect power as well, if memory serves me correctly. But I'll quickly show you a splash page about that.